Okay, again, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. This is the webinar for the online MCS, MCS-DS admissions. We're going to do a quick round of introductions, and then we do have a short slide deck that goes over basic information for admissions. Admissions video should have been sent to you with information for registering for this webinar. So we recommend reviewing that video for detailed information about admissions. What we aim to do in this particular webinar is just go over some of the basic admissions information and then reserve a large chunk of the time for Q&A. So questions that are not addressed in the video or in the general information posted to the program website. So if we want to do a quick round of introductions, starting with John, Lisa, Vivica, Desiree, and then I'll go last.
Great. Welcome, everybody. My name is John Hart. I'm a professor in the Department of Computer Science at the University of Illinois, and I'm also the Director of Online Programs, and I help oversee the MCS program that we deliver online on the Coursera platform. And I'm also the Executive Associate Dean of the Graduate College.
Hello, my name is Lisa Jagoda, and I'm one of the academic advisors for the MCS program.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Kudeligam, and I'm the Assistant Director for Computer Science Graduate Programs.
Hi, I'm Desiree Merman. I am one of the academic advisors for the MCS MCS-DS program.
And my name is Christine Martinez. I'm also an academic advisor for the program. So I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop. And please let me know if you can see it. Here we go. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So again, this is the admissions webinar for online MCS, MCS-DS. I'm just going to go ahead and start off with slide 1. Here we go. And these are the topics we're going to cover today. So application requirements, and that'll also include international student application requirements, tuition and financial aid, FAQs, application deadlines, and where to find information. So the second slide, what are we looking for and who are we looking for? So John, if you want to cover this one.
Sure. There's a lot of this is explained in the introductory video, so I'll refer you to that. The MCS is designed as a master's degree of computer science. It's a full-fledged master's degree in computer science. We have a version that's focused on data sciences, but we also have versions that focus on more general computer science topics. In order to get in, you need to have a bachelor's degree. You need to have a GPA of 3.2 or higher, and we evaluate those GPAs based on your full undergraduate GPA, the last 2 years, your GPA for computer science classes. And we'll also look at any other classes you've taken since your bachelor's degree. So if your GPA is low, one way of improving your application would be to take some, community college or other classes that have transcripted grades in some upper division senior level computer science classes, and that's a good way to show your computer science expertise. And your bachelor's degree, if it can be in computer science, in which case you'll probably have a lot of the prerequisites. Your bachelor's degree might be in another discipline, and we get a lot of students seeking an MCS as a computer science capstone degree on top of some other discipline's bachelor's degree. You might have degrees in business and accounting, you might have degrees in engineering or the sciences or even the humanities or the arts, and you want to add an MCS on top of that to show programming ability on top of that. And so if you come to us with a bachelor's degree not in CS, we're going to be looking for some key prerequisites that we would expect to see from a computer science degree. Those include a class in data structures, coursework in algorithms, and object-oriented design. Usually 2 or 3 classes will cover all of these. It's usually a computer science, a first and second course in computer science. Most of our students, have a Python programming course, but don't have that second course in data structures. And we'll describe some ways of getting that second course in data structures if you don't already have that. Also, we want to see, some exposure to linear algebra and working with matrices, and some basic stats and probability courses, which is becoming increasingly important in computer science. And then most of our students know Python. They've had a course on a scripting language like Python. It's also helpful to know a production software engineering language like C++ or Java.
Okay, perfect. The next slide goes into programming ability.
So we have many students that come to us with a degree, a bachelor's degree, not in computer science, and we've designed the degree to accommodate that, similar to getting an MBA or some of these other master's degrees on top of a different discipline's bachelor's degree. So if you come to us and you don't have data structures, and data structure is a key prerequisite of all of our graduate level computer science classes, if you have those other prerequisites, if you have a programming class, linear algebra, probability statistics, and some algorithm exposure, then you can get the data structures expertise. If you already have that expertise, if you've been, say, working in the software industry for several years, you may already have that data structures expertise. You can take a data structures proficiency exam, and we will count that as your data structures prerequisite for your application. And so that's available for you to take online. If you want to prepare for that data structures proficiency exam, you can take the Advanced CS Fundamentals Specialization. It's a 3-course, a 3 MOOC specialization sequence that results in a certificate and also prepares you for this proficiency exam for the data structures component of the prerequisites for the MCS. It's very highly ranked, and it's a great way to catch up on some very fundamental aspects of computer science that you may or may not have had in your bachelor's degree.
Okay. Next up is application requirements.
Okay. So it's important to have an application. You will need to follow that link in order to file an application. You have to submit the application, and you have to pay the application fee in order for us to evaluate your application. Part of the application process is for us to go through and compute GPAs, go through your transcripts, and make sure that citizenship and other requirements have been met, and that takes a lot of staff time. And so these application fees cover that staff time, and they're a mandatory part of the application process. So we won't be able to evaluate an application unless you've paid that application fee. And then there's letter of recommendations. These are optional. They're not required. You do not have to have a letter of recommendation to apply for the MCS degree. They're helpful if you have any questionable issues in your application. Say you don't have a prerequisite, you can have a letter of recommendation speak to your knowledge about that prerequisite, but it's usually only helpful if that letter of recommendation can speak to the specifics of that prerequisite. If you have a manager you work for, if you don't have a data structures class, they can talk about the specific data structures and specific data structure knowledge you have in order for that prerequisite. But in general, letters of recommendation are optional, and we only look at them if we have some question about the application. Statement of purpose, that's always helpful to let us know where you're coming from, and gives you a chance to tell your story, tell us what to look for in your application. Curriculum vitae or a resume, and you have to include that if you're submitting documents for English proficiency. And then we'll need transcripts. These can be unofficial at the time of applications. They just need to be good scans. So if you submit a blurry picture of your transcript, we can't read it, then it's not going to be very helpful, and you may not be, your application may not be successful. Once you are admitted, we will need the official transcripts, and we'll give you instructions on how to get those. Finally, our standardized tests like the GRE test or the GMAT test are not required for admissions. Anything you submit for your application, we will look at and we will consider, but generally we do not rely on the GRE, GMAT, or other standardized tests for admissions. One last thing I want to mention is on the application, there's an opportunity for you to list those 5 key prerequisites: data structures, algorithms, object-oriented programming, linear algebra, and probability and statistics. Your best shot at getting admitted would be to point us, if you don't have a bachelor's degree in computer science or computing related field, is to point us to the specific class the class name, the class number, when you took the class, and what grade you got in that class. All the specifics about that class so that we can look in your transcript and find that class based on that information. So there's specific entries in the application for those 5 prerequisites. It's always in your best interest to put as much detailed information as you can there, and that will help point us to where the relevant information is in your transcripts.
Okay, thank you. Next up is additional requirements for international students. Viveka, did you want to cover that one?
I could do that. So let me start off with the basics. Depending on where you are, you can use the graduate college website to see if you need to provide, for example, scores for English language proficiency. There's a website, if you are actually looking at the screens, there's a website where you can actually go and see all the instructions for the graduate college, but then you can look for your country to see if either TOEFL or IELTS are required. That is if you are, let's say, applying from outside, and the scores that are required for full status admissions is if you take TOEFL, it is greater than 102, so 103 or above. If you take IELTS exam, then it has to be greater than 7.0, the overall score. And scores have to be less than 2 years old from the semester you are starting the program. So this would be not at the time of applications, but so count back from the date that you plan to start the program. There are exemption waivers based on academic and employment history. If you have earned a degree from one of the exempted countries, for example, the US, if you have earned a degree in the past 5 years, then you will be exempted from having to submit language scores. If you have worked in one of the exempted countries for a period of 2 years, then you will be exempted. So how do we look at these exemptions? We would look at your transcript to see when your degree was awarded, if you have a degree from one of the exempt countries, or we will look at your resume as an initial scan to see if you might be eligible for an employment-based waiver. So in your resume or CV, when you submit that as part of your application, please make sure that you note where you have been employed if you think you would use that as a waiver. So we would need to know the location of the country, at least the country of where you were employed. If you are admitted based on that, if you're admitted and if we are giving an exemption based on those waivers, you will have to formally submit documentation from your employer. But at the time of applications, you would only need to let us know on your resume that you might be eligible for one of these waivers. If you are using test scores, please do have them reported to the University of Illinois so that they become part of your academic application.
Okay.
I think we can move on from this screen.
Okay.
Thank you.
I would like to quickly add, if you have any questions about these requirements at all, just go ahead and send us an email to mcs@cs.illinois.edu, and we can provide the details for you. It can get a little bit confusing, so we want to be sure everybody has the right information. Okay, next slide is going to be tuition and financial aid.
Let me start, and then maybe Viveka or Christine, you could follow up. The tuition for the Master of Computer Science or the Masters of Computer Science Data Science track is $670 per credit hour. The degrees require 8 courses. Each course is 4 credit hours. So that's a total of 32 credit hours for the degree. And so the total tuition is $21,440. And we've tried to set that to be very affordable for a master's degree. You'd be paying twice or 3 times that much for an on-campus version of the exact same degree. And that's not counting room and board and the other expenses of moving the campus in order to get that degree. In addition to that tuition, students have to also pay for proctoring of courses. We offer comprehensive exams as part of our 4-credit classes, and we require those to be proctored online out of fairness for all of our students. And those proctoring fees are $40, $50, $60 per class, depending on how many exams there are. You may also be, we also provide some cloud computing fees so that students can use Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and other cloud platforms for their assignments. If you use additional time, you may need to pay for that. And then there's also books and any other materials you might need for a class. In terms of financial aid, part of the low tuition is designed because this is an offering that the University of Illinois has to provide the MCS to a wider variety of students than we could before, but it relies on tuition dollars to operate. So Department of Computer Science doesn't have any assistantships available for online students. No research assistantships or teaching assistantships are available for students in the online program. We've set the tuition rate quite low in order to make it more affordable for online students than, for example, our on-campus classes would be. And there are options if you want to find funding for your Master of Computer Science degree. It is a fully accredited degree, as are all degrees at the University of Illinois. It's the exact same degree you would get as our on-campus students get, meets all the same criteria. And it's been fully accredited by our university accreditors, and that means it's eligible for federal financial aid. So if you want to apply for financial aid, either from your government or your employer or anybody else, it should be fully eligible for that, but you would have to pursue that on your own. We've got some links that we can provide to help point you where you would look for that, but those are the options available for financial aid. Anybody else want to talk about sponsored third-party billing?
Do you want me to go, Christine?
Yeah, go ahead.
So this part is, suppose that your employer or another agency is providing support for your degree program. You can make arrangements so that that party is directly billed instead of having you billed and then passing this information on. There is a process established at the university to set up third-party or sponsor billing, and there is a link on this website, and this will also be shared out. If you are in this situation, please take a look at that website. There is a little bit of upfront work that an admitted student has to do to get this process started. If you have further questions about this, we can help you, but the students would have to directly work with the university office to set up these processes and set up the accounts. Are we talking about payment plans, Christine?
You can if you want to. Yeah, feel free.
So this is the third-party billing is if you are being sponsored. Let's say I'm going to be paying out of pocket for this degree program. I can also then sign up for a payment plan. It could be up to 4 installments per term, and keeping in mind that you will only be billed for the number of credit hours you take for that particular semester. You will not be billed for the full program, but only for the credit hours you're taking each term. And if you sign up early in the term, then you can have a higher number of installments to make the payments. One of the questions we get is, currently the payments have to come through a US bank. So this is one of the conditions that you would have to keep in mind if you are overseas outside the US. But that information is also available, and we can make it available for you if you want to look at that option once you are admitted.
Okay. Perfect. So that goes over some of the administrative and application questions. Next, we're going to jump into the FAQs. I'll go ahead and just read these off, John, if you want to address them really quickly. These FAQs are actually also posted to the program website, so the answers are always accessible online. So first question, what is an online MCS?
Great. It's an online offering of our Master of Computer Science. We've been offering the Master of Computer Science online since the 90s. In this new version, we offer that same online Masters of Computer Science using the Coursera platform, which allows us to use video lessons for the lectures and online assessments. And the Coursera platform is more asynchronous, so it allows students to work arbitrarily ahead in a class. It helps you be able to complete a class around your schedule. So you can't fall behind, but you can work ahead. And that makes it easier to take the degree, for example, while you're working or while you're taking care of family members or other things. The other thing to mention is that it's a Master of Computer Science, the exact same Master of Computer Science our on-campus students get.
Okay. What is the MCS-DS?
Great. So the MCS-DS is a Master of Computer Science that is completed using classes that focus on data sciences. So we have a track of classes that satisfy the MCS that focus on data sciences. And so the MCS requires 4 breadth areas of computer science. And we've chosen those 4 breadth areas in the area of machine learning, data mining, data visualization, and cloud computing. And when you complete your breadth areas in those 4 areas, then you're taking the Master of Computer Science in data science. There's nothing that appears on your degree, nothing appears on your transcript about data sciences, but you can list your degree in your resume or on LinkedIn as the MCS-DS, and employers know what that means.
Okay. What will appear on the diploma or the transcript?
Great. Master of Computer Science from the College of Engineering at the University of Illinois.
Okay. How is the online MCS course offered using the Coursera MOOC platform?
It's a good question. So we've redesigned our MCS offerings. We took a look at our online MCS that was created using classroom capture, and we got a lot of feedback from students that they weren't getting as much out of the classroom recordings. So we've modified this to use Coursera's MOOC platform. So we have these shorter lesson videos that have shown to work really well in MOOCs. And we've taken effectively 2 Coursera MOOCs of the material and combined them to make one 4-credit course on top of that Coursera MOOC material, which has some classroom assignments and some lesson videos. We've also added additional material in order to offer these classes for credit. And this is actually answering the next question as well. Some of that additional material are semester-long assignments, programming assignments, comprehensive examinations, projects, and others that you wouldn't get in an ordinary Coursera MOOC, but still use the same platform. And so these courses are private. They're not open to the public like an ordinary MOOC is. They're only for our enrolled MCS students.
Okay, so I'll move on to the question after that one. How are online, do the 2 Coursera MOOC courses and 4-credit portion need to be taken concurrently?
No, basically when you're enrolled in the program, you will take a single course. It's implemented like a MOOC, but it's much more extensive. And the video lessons and some of the classroom assignments are drawn from the 2 public MOOCs on that material. But in addition to that, you have all this additional material, comprehensive examinations and so on, that you'll have access to. One thing that's possible is that you might have taken the 2 Coursera open to the public MOOCs that correspond to the lecture material for a course. So if you take that course for credit, you don't have to sit through that same lecture material, and you won't have to do those same classroom assignments. They should transfer over, but you will still need to do all of the projects, programming assignments, take the comprehensive examinations, and so on in order to do that. What we recommend students do is, if you haven't taken those 2 MOOCs that are used for the course, is to not worry about taking the MOOCs and just learn everything the way it was designed to be presented in a 4-credit course, and just take the 4-credit course instead of the 2 MOOCs.
Okay. I completed a Coursera specialization. Will I earn graduate credit at the University of Illinois?
No, we do not give graduate credit for MOOCs. We have MOOCs and we have specializations, and those are open to the public and designed to foster learning of computer science. It's a great way to learn about a field, but they do not give you the credential that you would get from completing a 4-credit degree course in the Master of Computer Science program. Those courses are in much more detail than what's available to the general public in a MOOC. Also, for our prerequisites for the application, we will look at Coursera specializations that you finished, but they don't carry nearly as much weight as a transcripted, graded 4-credit course, for example, at a community college on the subject. Just because of the difference between what's presented in a open to the public MOOC versus what's required for a 4-credit transcripted college course.
Okay. Next slide is just a continuation of the FAQ. So next question is, are students expected to be proficient in a particular programming language?
Most of our students already know Python. It's good to know a production language for software engineering like C++ or Java to be able to compile programs and work in a development environment with those languages. But for an MCS student, one of the skills that you will pick up is to be able to learn a new language and to be able to program into that language. Once you understand the concepts of programming, the differences between the languages are largely semantics. And so once you know one language pretty well, it's easy to pick up a second language pretty well.
Okay. How do students apply for the online MCS or MCS-DS?
It's a single application. You're basically applying for the Master of Computer Science degree. There is a checkbox if you want the data science degree, but you're admitted. And if you change your mind and you don't want to pursue data science, you just pick classes that aren't in the data science track. If you initially intended to enroll for the MCS and you want to pursue the MCS-DS, then just pick classes that satisfy those data science breadth areas. It's entirely up to you. The only thing that will make a difference is as long as you've got proficiency in those data science areas, then you can list your degree as MCS-DS on your resume and on LinkedIn.
Okay. What if my undergraduate GPA is less than the 3.0 required?
That's a good question. So there's always opportunity for you to improve your GPA. One of the best ways to do that, especially if you want to become an MCS student, is to take some upper division computer science classes at a community college. That will help your application show that you have what is necessary to succeed in an MCS graduate level computer science program. And so if you're showing A's and in those upper division classes, then that can help. We will consider that and your GPA from those classes in addition to your other GPAs when making our evaluation. We admit holistically, we look at the entire application, we look at everything that you submit to us in making our final decision. But those our main concern when we're evaluating an application is we want every student that's admitted to be able to succeed. And it doesn't help anyone involved. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help us if we get an applicant that is admitted but can't succeed in the program. So we want to make sure that when you are admitted, it's because you have everything you need to complete a graduate degree in computer science from a top 5 computer science institution, and to not have to struggle unduly in order to complete that.
Okay. Next question. Do international students in these programs receive an I-20?
I don't
Viveka?
know.
The international, so this is a completely online program. All coursework is completed online, although some of our graduates do come on campus, for example, for commencement activities. So therefore, because the program is online, the university will not issue visa documentation. So there will be no I-20s for students in this program. And a second question from this first question is, what about, for example, the CPT and OPT options available to students on I-20s? Because there is no I-20, there is no CPT option and OPT option for employment. What graduates can do is to use their earned degree to see if they can seek employment opportunities using other types of work visas.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Viveka. So next question, will non-degree graduate students be able to take online MCS courses?
So the answer is yes. You can, if you don't want to complete the entire 8-course MCS degree, you can apply and be admitted as a non-degree graduate student in order to take, a specific subset of courses. But the requirements for application and admission as a non-degree grad students are exactly the same as to be admitted into the MCS degree program.
Okay. Next question was already previously addressed, but maybe you can just brush on up really quick. Is financial aid available for online MCS students?
So federal financial aid from your government or your employer certainly may be available for you. It's a fully accredited program, but the Department of Computer Science does not have any assistantships like research assistantships or teaching assistantships or fellowships or waivers or anything like that available for online MCS students.
Okay. And then the final question, when will the applications for the next admission cycle open? So typically applications for the next admission cycle will open after the current one is closed. And the next slide addresses the application deadlines. So here you can see we have 3 semesters of entry, fall, spring, and summer. You can see when the application deadlines are for each semester and when the decision deadlines are. So the decision deadlines are typically July 15th, November 30th, and March 31st. However, we aim to release the decision deadlines for those by those dates. However, sometimes there are applications that require a longer review period, and the decision may be delayed for some applicants. These decision deadlines are posted at the link below. And then our final slide is where to find information. So the application link is provided at the top. The program websites for both online MCS and MCS-DS are next. Requirements by country. And then we have the TOEFL and IELTS waiver information and the application deadlines. And then, of course, if you have questions, you can send your questions to mcs@cas.illinois.edu, and we will answer your questions from there. So that concludes this slide deck. I'm going to stop sharing, and then we'll move into the Q&A. So it looks like 46 questions have been answered so far. So good job, team, on that. I'm just going to go ahead and start reading these off, John and Viveka, if you want to address them. Okay, so first question, Himanshu Sharma. This name looks familiar. I think we've been emailing with this person. So glad you could join. Oh, and somebody grabbed that question, it looks like. Okay, next question then, Ronnie Barbera. So I have taken a programming course at my master's degree, and it appears at my transcript. Does it suffice to show that I know object-oriented programming? Also, the course on linear algebra I took is simply titled Mathematics on my transcript.
Okay, so for all of these, just make sure you identify them in your application under each of those 5 prerequisite columns, and then we will look at your transcript. And often we go to the university and look at what's required for that course, what the learning objectives and the syllabus for that course are in order to make sure it meets those objectives. So if you say it does, then certainly record it. We'll look into that and check that, and then if it does, then we will consider that prerequisite met.
Okay, so he actually has a follow-up question here below, which I'll go ahead and ask. If these are okay, then would I only need to take the data structures proficiency exam to fulfill the requirement?
Sure, as long as you already have the prerequisite coursework in programming, linear algebra, and statistics, maybe with some algorithms, then that would be fine.
Okay. Next question is from Parker. Is there a maximum number of students accepted a semester?
No. We're an online scalable program. We've designed the program for scale. That's one of the benefits of using the Coursera platform, which showed the world many years ago that you could offer these courses at a high quality to a large number of students and use that scale to their advantage. The And so we still have plenty of capacity in the program. So we're admitting everybody that is qualified to the program.
Okay.
And we'll probably get this question later. That ends up being about 30% of our applicants,
Yes.
which is actually our University of Illinois average for graduate admissions.
Okay. So SETI is asking, can I take the prerequisites on Coursera? If yes, can you please point me to the exact courses, please?
Yeah, in general, it's much better to have transcripted graded course credit for the prerequisites. When we get when you use MOOCs for these prerequisites, sometimes the MOOCs don't go into the same depth that a 4-credit course will go into. 4-credit courses have examinations, comprehensive examinations, deeper homework, they're much more extensive. So we prefer to see transcripted graded credit for these courses on the prerequisites, but we have designed the fundamental specialization, which is a 3 MOOC sequence to represent the data structures knowledge, but only after you've taken a comprehensive examination in the form of the data structures proficiency exam. And these other MOOCs don't have that extensive coverage of the material.
Okay. Next question is from Tarek. Are Linda classes accepted as prerequisites? Is in-state tuition, out-of-state tuition, and international students tuition the same?
Good questions. So Linda is a great way to learn a subject, but does not give you a credential at the end that you've mastered a subject, the same as completing coursework that has a transcripted grade for that class. So you should use Linda to learn, but not necessarily to get a credential. For that, it's better to have a transcripted grade. And we've set this tuition as per credit hour. It's flat. You're paying the same tuition if you're in-state, out-of-state, or international. That's different than if you're on campus. Also, what's different is that you're paying per credit hour, which means you only pay for the courses you take. Our program is flexible so that if you need to skip a semester, something comes up at work, comes up at home, you're not feeling well, you need to take care of something for a semester, you can take a semester off and you don't pay anything. If you're on campus, you'd still have to pay $1,000 or $1,500 for a 0 credit semester. But in this program, you don't pay anything. You only pay for the semesters that you actually take courses. The only thing we ask is that if you do skip a semester, you give us a note so that we can check in on you, make sure you're okay, and you continue with your studies. We expect all of our students to take courses at least once throughout each year.
Okay. Next question. Are foundational courses taught as part of the MCS, like operating systems, data structures, compilers, etc.?
Yeah, so data structures is an undergraduate course, so we don't offer it as part of the MCS program, but we do have that specialization sequence that covers it. We have a course, programming languages and compilers, that offers some fundamentals. I don't believe we have any computational theory courses yet. We're still developing those. But many of the other courses are on fundamental areas of computer science. They're just very advanced areas of computer science.
Okay. Anonymous attendee. Okay. I'm in the middle of taking Computer Concepts Part 1 from the University of Illinois. Does that count towards admission?
What's the course?
Computer Concepts Part 1. Sounds like a
computer concepts for part 1.
Sounds like a specialist part of the specialization.
Yeah, that could be. No, we would want a 4-credit version of the course, something that would appear in your transcript. If you were looking at University of Illinois courses, the courses we'd be looking at are 125 and 225. 125 is our introduction to programming. 225 is data structures. We'd also look at, I think it's 176, which is discrete structures, and maybe 241, which is our course in systems programming. Did I get those right, Vivica? You're muted.
I'm sorry, I will have to ask you to repeat that because I was responding to something.
That's no problem. 125, 225, 176. Is that
173?
Right? 173. And 241 is systems programming, right?
241. There is also 280, 241 is system.
Yeah, 241. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So take a look at those courses. That's typically what we expect for a strong MCS applicant to have in terms of computer background.
Okay, so I'm going to jump to the chat here really quick because Elizabeth is having problems connecting to the Q&A, so we will make an exception for Elizabeth. Okay, should we be sure to complete the data structures exam before submitting your application, or could we be admitted contingent on passing the exam?
No, if you apply, we will say you need to take the data structures exam. And we get a lot of applications from students that don't have a sufficient data structures prerequisite, and we refer them to the exam. And so we will save you the trouble of that application and that decision by recommending you either have the data structures prerequisite or have completed that prerequisite exam. But good question.
Next question. Can the MCS credits be used towards a PhD?
Yes. So you can complete your MCS, and that will count towards the credits you may need for a PhD, depending on the programming, depending where you apply for a PhD. But there's a big difference. The MCS, both on campus and online, is considered a professional master's program. It's designed for professional preparation, and it consists only of coursework. So that's different than, for example, our Masters of Science program, which we don't have online. But in a Masters of Science program, you would be writing a thesis, you'd be working closely with an advisor that was on the Faculty of Computer Science, and that would probably better prepare you for a PhD. But the credits you earn for the MCS can be counted, can transfer into other degrees, including the PhD. If the PhD allows, if there's a version of the PhD that can be taken after the master's. Many programs have that.
Okay. Cal is asking, how many spots do you have available next cohort, and how many people applied last year?
We have an unlimited number of slots available. We're nowhere near our capacity for this program, so we're admitting everybody that's qualified. That helps us meet our Moral Act land grant mission. And how many people applied last year? It seems like we go through thousands of applications, but I don't know the specific number of people. We do have 1,000 students in the program as of last fall. We're just admitting and enrolling our latest cohort for the spring semester. So I don't know what the numbers are yet, but we had 1,000 in the fall.
Okay. Does the MCS cover machine learning?
Yes, we have a variety of machine learning options, both in computer science and in the Department of Statistics, which teaches some of our courses. This semester, we're offering a new course in machine learning. That's not really on machine learning, it's on the data transformations that make machine learning algorithms work, and that's on computational photography. You might have seen some news headlines about Facebook detecting deep fakes of people making movies where people are being depicted saying something when it didn't actually happen. It's a completely fake movie. Those are using machine learning algorithms on video in order to make artificial video. And this is the class we teach on how to do that. So if you want to come and enroll in that class, you're welcome to. It's taught by Derek Hoym, who's a world expert in computer vision and how to make deep fakes, as well as other computational photography techniques, which we hope you will use for good and not evil.
Yes, not deep fakes.
And also in machine learning, we have other courses. We're developing a new course this semester on deep learning. And also we have courses from statistics. We have a good base probability and statistics programming class, Stats 420. But in addition to that, we have a practical statistical learning class. That's a 500 level graduate only version statistics class, which is quite difficult. And then we have, I think, the most difficult class we have in the curriculum, which is advanced Bayesian modeling, which really gets at the fundamentals of Bayesian statistics that are at the underpinning all of machine learning.
Okay, next question. This is a good question. What is considered an upper division CS class? Currently attending a community college, and the college tops out with data structures and algorithms and linear algebra.
Those are, yeah, and a community college will typically be your first 2 years. They would deliver an associate's degree. We have junior level classes, which don't count towards graduate level credit. And then we have senior level classes, which are also first year graduate level classes. They're taught at 2 different levels so that graduate students do additional work for that credit. So those classes are quite a bit more advanced than what you'd be talking about with algorithms and data structures.
Okay. What do you look for in an SOP, so a statement of purpose, and what would be the difference between a successful application and not?
So the statement of purpose rarely makes the difference whether an application is successful or not. Sometimes we have some questions when we're going through. If your transcripts, if there's a gap, or if you have a sequence of Fs that you later made up with better grades, then the statement of purpose can sometimes explain what happened. You may have been ill or had some condition that you had to take care of, or some other life issue that may have happened. So we'll refer to your statement of purpose if we have any questions, but really all we are looking for primarily are your prerequisites, grades, and degree, to make sure you have the background necessary to succeed as a graduate student in computer science.
Okay, perfect. Okay, next question is a little lengthy here. I have a PhD in electrical engineering and work in the semiconductor industry. My work involves data analysis of electrical devices, and I've learned programming languages like Python and Swift on my own. I have made fully functional iPhone apps on my own, but I don't have CSE classes on my transcript of undergraduate or graduate classes. What courses do I need to take as prerequisites to be considered for admission?
That's a really good question. So a student with a doctorate in electrical engineering, certainly you have your bachelor's degree. A bachelor's degree in electrical engineering is going to include enough linear algebra. It's going to include enough probability and statistics. What you may need to show are object-oriented programming, data structures, and algorithms. And so I suspect in that case, completing that CS fundamentals specialization sequence and taking and passing that data structures entrance exam would probably offset not having those courses in your bachelor's degree. You'd have to take a look at your application to know for sure, but that would be my recommendation based on that.
Okay. Is it possible to do a thesis for a semester on campus, maybe in addition to the course requirements?
Generally, no. And the issue is that for the online MCS, it's for professional preparation. It does not include a thesis, and we don't really have that option available to our online MCS students. We're just not instrumented to be able to support that option. So if you want to do a thesis, my recommendation would be do a Master's of Science degree. But unfortunately, we don't have an online option for that.
Okay. Next question. Can I do the MCS-DS in classroom, face-to-face?
You can do the MCS in classroom face-to-face. You'd have to apply for the MCS on campus. Be admitted on campus. We have a very limited number of seats available for students on campus. We have over 1,000 students in the online program. We have well under 100 students in the on-campus program. So it's because of that, it becomes much harder to get into the on-campus program because of the limited seating available for that. And then once you were in that, you could take courses that focused on data sciences, in order to complete your on-campus MCS in the same way that you do for the online MCS.
Okay. Paul's question is, are programming portfolios / projects given much consideration for folks with less formal coursework?
It's very hard for us to make that judgment. What we really need to see is transcripted graded credit. We need to see a grade. We need to see, that grade represents performance on examinations and on class projects, so that you know both fundamentals at sufficient depth and how to apply those fundamentals to solve problems. So we wouldn't be able to really look at portfolios of programming to really evaluate that. It's very easy to write a program, but it's also very easy to write a program poorly. The program may still function, but it may not really utilize the proper data structures, algorithms, and programming principles necessary for good programming that would serve you well, especially in a graduate program in computer science.
Okay, and then the next question is, if a student is proficient in another language like Python, but needs to work on lower level C, C++ programming skills, would you advise applying anyway and simultaneously taking the accelerated CS fundamentals specialization, or should avoid applying until they completed the specialization?
So as long as you have the prerequisites, as long as you have data structures, algorithms, and object-oriented programming, it doesn't really matter which language you learn them in. If you want to pick up C++, we cover C++ and object-oriented programming in the first course of that accelerated CS fundamentals specialization sequence. So you can refer to that. But the real reason to take that examination and complete that specialization sequence is if you don't have data structures in your transcripted course listings.
Okay, next question. My transcripts are in percentages, not in grades. What should I mention under the prerequisite section for data structures, OOP, algorithms, algebra, and probability? So that sounds like a transcript conversion question. So
Yep.
the
So
admission,
go
ahead.
ahead. Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say that the admissions staff is very adept at converting or normalizing the GPAs from different institutions throughout the world. So students, or applicants rather, are not required to convert that on their own. Okay.
And, but it's always helpful to point us to those specific courses in the application where we ask for the prerequisites for data structures, object-oriented programming, and algorithms.
Correct. Thank you, John. Yes. Anonymous attendee. Would something like winning an industry award for my current high-tech role, but in electrical engineering firmware, something that would be considered in the decision process?
It would absolutely be considered in the decision process. We look at everything in the application, and winning an award like that, it would be great. Firmware is quite broad, and it may not include some of the data structure knowledge you would need in order to get through graduate level courses in computer science. So we'd also be looking for those prerequisites, those key prerequisites that everybody needs in order to succeed in the program.
Okay. Next question.
Congratulations on your award, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you recommend students getting an online MCS degree if the student is also interested in earning a PhD?
If you want to get a PhD, you can just apply for the PhD program directly, and that's probably the quickest way to get a PhD is to just apply after your bachelor's degree for a PhD program. Ours certainly admits students with a bachelor's degree. Our PhD admissions, we're largely looking for students that are proficient in research, that may have 1 or 2 publications that have already been submitted and accepted and presented if they're a conference paper. And the MCS doesn't really include any of that. So if you're looking for a stepping stone on your way to a PhD, the best preparation might be a Master's of Science degree instead of the MCS. And in a Master's of Science degree, you'd be working with a faculty advisor and publishing papers, which would be a better preparation to get into a PhD program.
Okay. Let's see. Can I consider the Fundamental Data Structures Proficiency exam a waiver for the prerequisite of data structures?
Yes, that's how it was designed. If you don't have if you have all of the other prerequisites but don't have a course in data structures and the algorithms associated with data structures, then we will use that proficiency exam and a strong passing grade in that proficiency exam to waive that requirement of transcripted course credit in data structures.
Okay. It looks like the next question is this person previously applied twice and was not able to get in. And I guess they're wondering, is this the case for summer, or should they reapply?
So we apply the exact same standards for admissions in fall, spring, and summer. If nothing's changed and you were not admitted in one semester, you probably won't be admitted in the next semester. The best thing to do is to look at the GPA and the prerequisite requirements, and to try to address any deficiencies in there. If it's GPA, then take some community college courses, or some local courses at the high, maybe a local four-year college courses at the highest level. Show that you've got proficiency at that level of computer science. And if you're missing prerequisites, the other is to go to community college and pick up those prerequisite courses.
Okay. Next question, can we cover all RNN and ISTM and natural language process in data science and mathematics behind it?
I think RNN, they might be looking at one of the variants of neural networks and natural language processing. We've been looking at developing a course on NLP, on natural language processing, but that course won't be live in the next year. So we don't have coursework yet on natural language processing. We cover neural networks and deep learning and so on in our other machine learning courses. But natural language processing would be maybe 2 years out before we'd have a course available on that.
Okay, so we are a minute to the end of the webinar, and we have 5 questions left. John? Okay, we'll go real quickly. Are there any Markov chain related courses offered in the curriculum?
You might get a little bit of that in advanced Bayesian
modeling. It does have a little bit of Markov chain content.
Yeah, we usually cover that in computational engineering, computational science, but I don't know that we have courses that focus specifically on that.
Okay. Ivan, I have a bachelor's in business data analytics. Will this be enough to cover the stats linear algebra requirement? I didn't even take any actual classes on these topics. I just covered in multiple courses in my undergrad.
Yeah, if you can point us to the courses that covered linear algebra and probability and statistics, that would be fine. And it's good to understand the difference that data analytics is not data structures.
Okay.
What is that?
Yeah. What is the base programming language for MCS and data science? I have 4 years of Python programming. I will be able to test on the same programming language. I'm also interested in data structures.
Okay. In our data structures specialization sequence, we start with C++, object-oriented programming in C++. So that's a great way to learn C++. At the graduate level, you'll be able to, each of our classes uses different programming languages. So you just have to pick up a language and run with it. And that's just a skill you learn.
Okay. And then Maria is asking, is the data structures proficiency exam taken in a specific programming language?
Yeah, C++.
Okay. And then the last question we're going to take, since this is the last one, I am looking for the best CS program to improve my skill set as a bioinformatics scientist. What do you think sets this program apart from the other degree programs on Coursera?
We're a much better program. We are the highest ranked program on the Coursera platform for a Master of Computer Science degree.
All right, that's a great way to end this webinar. So thanks everyone for joining us this afternoon. This recording will be sent via email to all of those who registered. Again, if you have any additional questions that were not answered, please send an email to mcs@cs.illinois.edu. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.